I didn't cry when my mother called me a failure. I just stood there, coffee trembling in my hand, staring at the woman who raised me as she spat venom between sips of wine. "You're 30, broke, and still chasing dreams that never come true," she sneered. "You're pathetic, Ren. Desperate." My cousin Lila sat across the table, pretending to scroll her phone. But what Mom didn't know, what no one knew, was that Lila was live streaming the entire conversation. Thousands of eyes watching. Comments pouring in. Hearts, emojis, disbelief. I remember thinking, if words could bruise, I'd be covered in blue. Mom laughed, cruel and careless. "Maybe one day you'll thank me for telling you the truth." But she had no idea what that truth would cost her. Because by morning the world would know hers. I hadn't planned to stay long that day. Just lunch, maybe coffee. One of those polite visits where you pretend the past doesn't exist. Mom was hosting a family brunch. My cousin Lila was there, smiling her usual influencer smile, setting up her phone stand for behind-the-scenes family content. My brother couldn't make it as usual, and I just lost my job a week earlier. I told myself it would be fine, that Mom would understand. But I should have known better. The first jab came between omelet bites. "Still chasing that creative thing, Ren?" she asked, her tone honeyed and sharp. "Maybe it's time to stop pretending and get a real job." I smiled politely, cutting my toast. "I'm taking a break, Mom. Just figuring things out." She laughed, loud enough to make the utensils clatter. "Figuring things out? You're 30, Ren. You've been figuring things out since college." Lila's phone camera glowed red on the table, but no one noticed. Or maybe they did and didn't care. I took a sip of coffee, trying to stay calm. "I didn't come here for a lecture." Mom's voice dropped an octave. "You came here because you need validation. Same as always." My chest tightened. "That's not true." "Oh, it's not," she said, setting her fork down. "You've failed at every dream you've had. Painting, photography, whatever that YouTube thing was. Do you know how embarrassing it is for me when people ask what my daughter does?" The words hit harder than I expected. She knew exactly where to cut. "I'm not embarrassed by who I am," I said quietly. She leaned back, crossing her arms. "Then maybe you should be. Because everyone else is." Lila coughed awkwardly. "Aunt Meredith." But Mom wasn't done. "You think you're special, Ren, but you're just desperate. A desperate failure. A pathetic dreamer who never grew up." Something inside me snapped. "Stop," I whispered, voice trembling. She rolled her eyes. "Don't be dramatic. You always." "Stop talking to me like that," I said louder this time. "I came here because I wanted peace. But you don't know how to love without hurting." The table went silent. Even the birds outside stopped singing. For a moment, I thought I saw something flicker in her expression. Guilt, maybe. But then it hardened. "Maybe you should stop pretending to be the victim," she said coldly. I stood, grabbed my coat and walked out. Behind me, Lila's phone was still recording. That glowing red light, the one no one cared about, would change everything. By morning, the clip would have over 3 million views. And for once, the world would finally see who my mother really was. The next morning, my phone wouldn't stop buzzing. At first, I thought it was just work notifications or some spam group chat. But then my cousin Lila's name flashed across the screen. 20 missed calls. When I finally picked up, her voice was frantic. "Ren, don't freak out, okay? You're trending." "Trending?" I repeated, groggy and confused. "Someone clipped last night's brunch from my live stream. It blew up overnight. You need to see it." I opened my messages and there it was. A short video captioned, "When your own mother calls you a failure, on camera." The view count, 2.8 million. My stomach dropped. The clip showed everything. My mother's smirk, her cruel words, my trembling voice, and that awful silence when I finally told her to stop. The comments poured in faster than I could scroll. "She's evil. That poor girl. You can hear her heart breaking." I didn't know whether to cry or throw up. Within hours, media pages picked it up. Toxic parenting goes viral. Podcasts debated it. Strangers called me brave. But it didn't feel brave. It felt like being stripped naked in front of the world. When I called my mom, she answered on the first ring, furious. "How could you embarrass me like this, Ren?" "I didn't post it," I said quietly. "Well, your cousin did. You probably told her to. You always wanted attention." "Mom, millions of people saw what you said." "Oh, please," she snapped. "It was taken out of context. You were provoking me, and Lila edited it to make me look bad." "Lila was live streaming," I said. "There's no editing." Her voice dropped to a hiss. "You think the internet will love you forever? They'll move on, and I'll still be your mother. Don't forget that." Then she hung up. By that evening, the video had reached 5 million views. My inbox flooded with messages, people sharing their own stories, thanking me for standing up for myself, even though I hadn't meant to. And then the first journalist reached out. A woman named Eleanor Page from the Horizon Tribune. She wrote, "Hi Ren, I've been covering online family abuse cases. I'd like to talk off record first. There's something strange about your mother's public denial." Strange. That word lingered. I met Eleanor 2 days later at a cafe downtown. She looked calm, confident, the kind of person who always knows more than she says. She slid a folder across the table. "Public records," she said. "You may want to see this before you decide how to respond to your mom's statements." Inside were financial documents, bank transfers, and property tax forms, all under my mother's name. But one line caught my eye. A large transfer from the Harlan Estate Trust, my late father's inheritance fund. My chest tightened. That money was supposed to be split between my brother and me. Eleanor nodded slowly. "Your mother withdrew the full amount 6 years ago. Your brother's portion was reallocated to her account." I blinked. She told me there was nothing left. Eleanor met my eyes. "Ren, I don't think that brunch was about you failing. I think she was trying to keep you distracted, because she's been hiding something much bigger." I leaned back, heartbeat thudding in my ears. "What kind of something?" She tapped the folder. "Fraud, maybe. But that's just the surface." I stared at her, numb. Somewhere deep down I realized, the internet had seen my mother's cruelty. But soon they'd see her truth. I didn't sleep that night. My mind kept replaying the numbers in Eleanor's folder. Withdrawals, transfers, deposits, all pointing to one thing, deception. At 3 a.m. I drove to Mom's house. The lights were off, her blinds drawn. For the first time in my life, I felt like a stranger outside her door. I knocked anyway. She opened it wearing her silk robe, mascara smudged. "What do you want?" "I want to know what happened to Dad's inheritance." She froze. "Excuse me. You told me the trust was empty. That the hospital bills used it all." She crossed her arms. "It was. You don't understand adult finances." I held up my phone, showing her the documents. "Then explain this transfer to your account." Her eyes flickered just for a second, but it was enough. She snatched the phone from my hand and hissed, "You think you're clever because a journalist filled your head with lies?" "It's not a lie if there's a paper trail," I said quietly. Her lips curled. "You have no idea how much I've done for this family. That money was safer with me than with you or your brother." "Safer?" I whispered. "You stole from us." "Don't you dare accuse me in my own home," she snapped. "You've always been ungrateful. You wouldn't survive a day without me." That was the moment I realized. She wasn't just cruel. She was terrified. Something about that money wasn't just selfishness. It was survival. When I told Eleanor what happened, she looked unsurprised. "There's a rumor in the local probate records," she said. "Your father may have left a second trust, a private one meant for your education. But why would she hide it?" Eleanor's expression softened. "Maybe because it was never hers to touch." 2 days later, I got a message from someone unexpected. My father's former lawyer. "Ren, I saw the viral video. I think your mother's lies go deeper than you know. I have something that belongs to you. He attached a scan of a handwritten note. For Ren, if the truth ever gets buried. When I walked into the lawyer's office, the smell of old paper and cedar hit me. Familiar, comforting, but heavy with secrets. Mr. Lang, my father's attorney, looked like he'd aged 20 years since the funeral. Your father trusted me with this, he said, handing over a sealed brown envelope. He feared your mother would manipulate the estate. Inside was a letter in my father's handwriting. My dearest Ren, if you are reading this, I failed to protect what I built for you. I left a college and business fund under your name. The documents are filed under the alias W. Ellis. Your mother cannot access it without your written consent. Be careful who you trust, especially family. Could barely breathe. He knew, I whispered. Mr. Lang nodded. He suspected she'd misused the funds. I didn't contact you sooner because I couldn't prove it, until now. That night, I found the old lockbox in the attic labeled, Dad's Journals. Inside, among faded photos and receipts, was the document, W. Ellis Educational Fund. The amount made my knees buckle. Over $480,000. Money my mother had kept hidden, claiming she was protecting me from temptation. Rage pulsed through my veins, but beneath it was grief. Not for the money, but for every year she made me believe I wasn't enough. I called Lila my cousin. You remember when Mom said I'd never succeed because I didn't know how to manage money? Yeah, she said softly. She meant she didn't want me to have money. She stole it. There was silence. Then Lila whispered. Ren, she's trying to control the narrative. She's planning to sue you for defamation. For what? Telling the truth. She's calling lawyers, saying your viral fame is slander. My hands tightened around the phone. Then she's about to learn what exposure really feels like. The next morning, my mother posted a Facebook statement that felt like a dagger. My daughter Ren has been spreading hurtful lies for attention. The video circulating online was manipulated. Please respect our family's privacy during this difficult time. But it was too late. The world had receipts. Eleanor published the full investigative piece. From gaslight to spotlight. The viral family that hid a fortune. Screenshots. Bank records. The missing trust fund. Everything. Public opinion flipped overnight. My inbox filled with messages again. But this time they weren't pity. They were support. Ren, you're brave. Your story helped me cut ties with my toxic mom. Expose her. You deserve justice. Mom called me in a fury. You've humiliated this family. No, I said calmly. You humiliated yourself when you lied to me. You'll regret this, she spat. You have no idea what you've started. But what she didn't realize was that I wasn't alone anymore. The world was watching. That afternoon I got a call from an unknown number. Miss Wren, a man's voice said. My name's Julian Cross. I'm an attorney. I saw your case online. If you want justice, I'll take it pro bono. Justice. The word felt foreign, heavy and sharp. I exhaled slowly. Let's do it. When I hung up, I felt something I hadn't felt in years. Not fear, not anger, but power. Filing the lawsuit felt like detonating a bomb I couldn't defuse. Julian, my new lawyer, was calm, precise. The opposite of the chaos I felt. We'll go after her for fraudulent misappropriation of estate funds, he explained. You have documents, public statements, and digital proof. She'll settle or crumble. I wanted to crumble first. The moment the papers were served, Mom went nuclear. She called my brother, our aunts, even old family friends. Crying, performing, claiming I'd been brainwashed by the internet. By the end of the week, my entire family chat was split in two. Half supported her. The other half quietly messaged me. We saw what she did, Ren. Stay strong. Then came the interviews. Eleanor arranged one with Daylight Network, a national program that had covered online abuse cases. I sat under bright studio lights, palms sweating, as the interviewer asked, "What's it like watching millions of strangers stand with you after your own mother tore you down?" I hesitated, then said, "It's lonely. Validation doesn't erase betrayal. It just makes it louder." The segment went viral again. Hashtags exploded. Hashtag Justice for Ren trended for 2 days straight. But the attention came with threats. Anonymous messages. Private numbers calling at midnight. "Back off or you'll regret it." Julian wasn't surprised. Public cases attract vultures. Keep your phone on record. Weeks passed before the court date. The night before the hearing, I couldn't sleep. Lila stayed over, scrolling through the thousands of supportive messages from strangers. "You know what's wild," she said. "The live stream you never asked for turned into the biggest weapon against her." I looked at her and smiled faintly. Yeah. The internet saw everything I couldn't say for years. The next morning we walked into the courthouse. My mother was already there. Polished, poised, smiling for the cameras. She looked untouchable. But when the judge began reading the list of her alleged offenses, I saw her hand tremble. Julian leaned over. "Remember, you're not fighting for revenge. You're fighting for truth." Mom's lawyer painted me as unstable, bitter, desperate for fame. They played clips of my interviews out of context, making it sound like I was exploiting her. Then Julian played his exhibit. The video. Not the viral one. The one from that day's brunch, uncut, showing the full 30-minute recording. Every insult, every smirk, every word she'd thrown like daggers. The courtroom fell silent. My mother's face drained of color. "This is who she called unstable," Julian said softly. "This is who she called pathetic." Tears filled my eyes, but I didn't look away. For once, the entire room saw me, not as a victim but as a witness. The judge called for recess. Mom avoided my gaze as she whispered furiously to her lawyer. When we left the courtroom, Lila squeezed my shoulder. "You good?" I nodded, breathing deep. For the first time in my life, yeah. The second day of the trial was worse, emotionally. My mother took the stand. She looked every bit the grieving parent, voice quivering, tissue in hand. "I love my daughter," she said. "She's confused, she's been manipulated. That money was mine to manage. I was protecting her from her own recklessness." I felt anger rising like heat under my skin. Protecting me. She'd buried me. Julian stood. "Mrs. Carter, can you confirm this is your signature?" She nodded. "And you admit withdrawing funds from your late husband's estate into your personal account?" "I managed those funds for family needs," she said, careful, rehearsed. Julian's tone darkened. "Then why did your daughter's trust, established for her education, list your name as primary beneficiary after your husband's death?" The courtroom murmured. Her eyes darted. I don't recall signing." "Let's refresh your memory," Julian said, sliding another document forward. "Because this was filed the same day your husband's will was probated. That means you forged it." Her hand shook. "I didn't." He cut her off gently. "Mrs. Carter, lying under oath is a felony. I suggest you think before answering again." I watched her face crumble, the first real crack in her armor. Finally she whispered, "I did what I had to do." He left everything to her. What was I supposed to live on? Gasps filled the courtroom. Julian looked at me, then back at the judge. "Your Honor, the defendant just confessed to misappropriation and forgery." It felt surreal. Years of pain compressed into one moment of justice. Mom's lawyer begged for a recess. The judge denied it. The court recessed only after formally noting her admission. When I left the stand that day, reporters swarmed me again. "Ren, how does it feel to finally hear your mother confess?" I didn't have an answer. I just said, "It feels quiet." That night, I sat alone by my apartment window, watching city lights flicker like distant fires. I thought about the years she called me lazy, fragile, hopeless. And I realized maybe she needed me to be small so she could feel big. But I wasn't small anymore. The verdict would come tomorrow. I didn't know if I'd win legally, but I'd already won something bigger, the truth. The verdict came the next afternoon. Guilty on all counts. Fraud, forgery, emotional defamation. Exhaled, shaking. Julian squeezed my hand. You did it, Ren. Mom avoided my eyes as the judge ordered restitution, full repayment of my inheritance and public correction of her false statements. But the victory didn't feel sweet. Felt like ashes. Then that night I got a call from my brother Dylan. His voice was raw. I need to tell you something. He confessed everything. How Mom had manipulated him for years, convincing him I'd refused Dad's money, claiming I was unstable. She said you wanted to be cut off, he said quietly. She told me you were fine living off donations and pity. I believed her, Ren. I'm so sorry. I swallowed hard. You didn't know. I do now, he said. I wired half my business profits into your account. It's not enough to make up for it, but it's something. Tears blurred my vision. You don't owe me money, Dylan. You owe yourself the truth. He hesitated. She's moving out of town. No one wants to see her anymore. I stared at my reflection in the window. Let her run. I've already stopped chasing her. For the first time in years we really talked. About Dad. About childhood. About how silence had become our family's favorite weapon. When the call ended, I realized something. Forgiveness doesn't always mean reconciliation. Sometimes it means freedom. Cliffhanger next, Part 9. Turning pain into purpose. Part 9. Turning pain into purpose. 3 months later, I launched the Ren Foundation, a small non-profit offering grants for daughters rebuilding after family abuse. The tagline read, "Truth is healing when it's spoken out loud." The irony wasn't lost on me. A live stream destroyed my privacy but rebuilt my purpose. Eleanor wrote a follow-up article titled, "The Woman Who Made Millions See Themselves." For once, my name trended for the right reason. Lila became my media manager, and Dylan helped set up our first event, a retreat for women estranged from manipulative families. Standing on that stage, I looked out at dozens of faces that mirrored my pain. I told them, when someone calls you a failure, remember, it usually means you stopped failing for them. The applause was soft but powerful. Later that night, I got a letter in an unfamiliar envelope. The handwriting made my chest tighten instantly. Ren, I watched your interview. You've turned everyone against me, but I never meant to lose you. I was scared. I did awful things because I thought love was control. Maybe you'll understand one day. I folded the letter carefully. I didn't cry. I just whispered, I already understand, I just don't agree. Then I placed it in a drawer and left it there, where the past belongs. A year later I stood in a podcast studio. My own this time. The walls were lined with letters from women around the world. Your story gave me courage. I walked away from my abuser. The red recording light blinked on, the same color as the live stream light that once humiliated me. I smiled softly at the camera. You know, I began, when that video went viral, I thought it destroyed me. But it didn't. It exposed the truth I was too afraid to say myself. I paused, remembering the brunch table, the sting of her words. My mother once called me desperate, I said quietly. Maybe I was desperate for love, for approval, for peace. But not anymore. I'm not desperate. I'm determined. My voice didn't shake this time. Sometimes exposure isn't punishment. It's liberation. Because sunlight burns lies, and mine finally saw daylight. The outro music played softly as I ended the episode. When the camera light turned off, Lila clapped quietly behind the monitor. She'd hate how calm you are now, she joked. I laughed. Then I must be doing something right. As I stepped outside, the city hummed beneath a fading sunset. I looked up, breathing in the quiet. That red light had once been my humiliation. Now it was my redemption. Because the truth didn't ruin me. Freed me. If you've ever been called a failure by someone who should have protected you, remember, their cruelty says nothing about your worth. Comment, my truth shines louder, if you've ever turned pain into purpose. Like and subscribe for more cinematic real-life stories.